So if you guys have any questions, I'll give a little bit of time to that. I'm not in a rush, but like I said, this is another reason why I didn't go ahead with the spirit spouses, because you could see, as far as time wise, I could be on here for like 12 hours straight. I'll give you guys a few minutes to come up with any questions that you may have. I'll type it in the comments and I'll go through them. So does that mean I can't get Girl Scout cookies anymore? I'm telling you, if you guys want to have that conversation, I mean, I I wouldn't. In all honesty, I would not. I stop with Starbucks, with any of those kind of things. I try to stay away from, you know, all kinds of products. If you've noticed, like, even I'll tell you, like, all high-end luxury products, they all come from the Marine Kingdom. They're all designed and originated from spirits, principalities, and spirits. Those spirits come into people, and these people create and they design all of these products. If you've noticed, like Gucci, they're always using the serpent. They use the bee, right? A lot of people think the bee doesn't resemble anything, but it actually resembles a queen, okay, which is the queen of heaven, queen of the coast, okay, queen of the ocean, right? These all have uh, a spiritual, connotation to all of them. So even like super high end luxury cars, I mean, I was about to have some deals like, many years back through business that I ended up giving up. The Lord had me give up, but I was about to sign a contract, and they were going to give me, a certain amount of time to do it, but I had already knew that if I worked so many hours every single day, I knew I could get it done in 3 months. So after that 3 months time, I was going to go back and hit him up for the next contract, and I'm telling you, I was going to take 500,000, buy me a buy me a Rolls Royce. So like I'm right there with a lot of you, but like it's not godly brands. I had destroyed all my Gucci stuff that I ever had. I don't invest in any of those products. I mean, I have this Kors actually means Hebrew for it's a term of measurement. So there are certain brands that that are nicer, that um, that you can find, right? But a lot of these other brands, and that's why when you see these people in leadership, when you see these people in leadership and you see them taking the money from God's people, and you see them wearing Gucci, and you see them wearing Louis Vuitton, and you see them spending the money on these things, I'm telling you right now, their spirit worships at the altar of mammon. Their spirit worships at these altars where the Marine Kingdom's at. You have to understand the reason why things come out of people is first spiritual. Okay? It's first spiritual. You see people who go crazy and with hair colors, and there's somebody who claims to be prophetic that's actually in ministry that has all kind of crazy stuff in her hair. I'm telling you, that's witchcraft. She got a witch. She got a witch, and she doesn't even know it, and nobody else knows that, right? There's not, I mean, I'm sure some people do, but I'm telling you, like, the reason people do these things isn't because they just decide in their own mind. I'm telling you, these spirits enter, it goes into the soul of these people, and it causes them to think, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I want to wear this. Oh, I want to be like this. There's something else spiritual that's taking place there. Okay. So, yeah, so I don't mess with, yeah, I don't mess with those products. I don't mess with Starbucks. I don't I don't watch TV, you know. I pretty much, since I had lived on my own since I was younger, I've never had cable unless it came free with the internet, you know. And I used to watch some movies. Like I used to have a movie collection for my kids when they were little and stuff like that, you know. But um, I got away from all that stuff. Let me scroll back a little bit because you guys have been commenting. Um, there's a lot of comments. So Dior, I know that you hit me up through Instagram, so I'm gonna answer your stuff. Says, so if I married someone that I was fornicating with and getting drunk with before marriage, that's considered a demonic marriage, right? Um, Pretty much. The foundation of that marriage was built on things that stem from the kingdom of darkness. Now, if you're asking for, my permission or for me to tell you that you're supposed to get a divorce of that person, I can't tell you that I'm getting revelation on that. I can't tell you that I know that. But if the Lord's been speaking to you about it, and here's the thing, if you've been living your life in holiness and purity, like I'm talking like you don't look at other females, right? You don't have desire for other females and that sort of thing, and the Lord has been speaking to you and trying to get you away from that marriage, then it probably is God speaking to you. But here's the thing, there's a lot of people that just don't like certain situations that come up in marriage, right? And so they don't want to deal with stuff, so they want to go off and be with somebody else. And God doesn't permit that. Okay. And another way to understand is that if you're looking and lusting after, and I'm not saying these things obviously make an accusation, I'm just speaking to you. If you're looking and lusting after other females and having a desire for somebody else in general, then I personally would not feel comfortable just being like, oh, I heard from God and they don't want me to be married to this person. Well, to know that you're hearing from God, you have to know that you have purity. You know what I'm saying? You have to know that you have purity. You have to have heard God's voice speaking to you in other situations, right? And other things in life. But if we're looking, we're lusting, we're opening our own selves up, our own spirit and soul, we're opening ourselves up to the kingdom of darkness. We can't really trust like, oh, God's telling me to leave this person, right? Because that could be the enemy speaking to you, you know. But I will tell you that yes, that to build a marriage, any type of foundation on those things is definitely the kingdom of darkness. Yes, lots of pride connected. Yeah, makeup, like heavy makeup. Like I'm not telling uh, any women that they can't wear makeup. There's certain times and places and stuff. But if there's something that makes you feel insecure without having makeup, then I would definitely address that with God, right? There's, you know, um, but yes, like high-end makeups, hair extensions, they all come out of the marine kingdom too. Okay, again, it's not saying females can't wear makeup, right? And some of you may have certain jobs or do certain things, that you would wear that for, but that's why I will tell you this, when there are certain things that you do and that you participate in, you will never be able to war and fight against that kingdom. Okay. So if you're a woman who, constantly has on makeup and you constantly got to, put yourself all together because you're trying to be impressive, okay, to other people, and, you may carry a spirit of seduction. Okay. And I'm not saying that to anyone on here, so don't take that this way. I'm just speaking. Okay. So you could carry a spirit of seduction and not know it. But if you have this desire, uh, for all of these things and fake hair and all this other stuff, okay? High-end luxury things, I'm telling you right now that you'll never have power over the marine kingdom. You may think that you do, right? You may see some spirits manifest in other people if you're doing ministry, but I'm telling you right now, you will, I mean, I can't really speak on some testimonies, but I can tell you right now that there are things that are in the marine kingdom that birthed out of the marine kingdom, and there's ways that prophetic people have destroyed certain kingdoms. And it's only because God has done it or mantled the people to be that way. But if God mantles a person to be that way, but they're lost off in all of these high-end luxury things, that person will never have power and authority over the marine kingdom. The marine kingdom will always have power and authority over you because you're subject to the things that they make and they produce out of that kingdom, if that makes sense. So another thing with the marine kingdom, like seen somebody post something about Disney. Okay. Yeah, I think we all know about Disney. Before I get to that, uh, no, that's fine. So with Disney, okay, there is in the marine kingdom, okay, in the realm of the spirit, where the Queen of the Coast is at and where Leviathan stems from, okay, there is a castle, and that's where Walt Disney actually has built their castle at these two places on each end of the country. Okay. In the Marine Kingdom, they have this castle is there. If you've noticed, especially even early on, all the Disney movies was always about, mermaids, and it was always about Marine Kingdom stuff, water spirits and that kind of thing, right? So this is where that castle comes from. Okay. That castle is located off the coast of Florida where the Bermuda Triangle is at. This is where, we've heard all these stories about planes and boats, right? But it's not even just that. It's where all of the hurricanes stem from. Y'all better hear what I'm telling you, because the spiritual stuff is no joke. We go through this life and just this world and we just assume everything's just whatever, but it's not, it's not. So she said, I'm incontent with a simple life. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I think everybody kind of likes to do some stuff here and there and whatever, and God allows us to do that. Like, we don't have to be poor. It's just that if your heart is set on the things of this world, and I'm not just talking about money, right? I'm just talking about even with your heart was set on family, and the enemy was using these things to just draw your heart towards this stuff. God will just come through and he'll wreck your life. A lot of people think that he come to just give you the best of everything in the world, but I'm telling you right now, if you got a purpose, God has a purpose for you, he's going to come in and wreck your life, because he has to crucify your heart from all of these things. And the reason is because if God had given you guys $1 million today, any of you $1 million, how many of you would not even came on this broadcast because you would have been at the mall or somewhere else spending money? The course of your life just changes, right? And like you won't spend time in the secret place with God. And I'm not talking like that's a ton of money, right, in this day and age, but you won't spend time in the secret place with God. You'd be thinking about these things that you can buy, these things that you can do. Yeah, thank you for reminding me about where you can get the prayers. I'll tell you before I log off, I'll put the prayers and the links in the comment sections. Yes, nose rings. Yeah, nose rings are the same. People pierce their face. The other person I was talking about having the different colored hair, the lady in ministry, and she got her face pierced. Okay, those are spirits on the inside of her that cause her to believe that that's what she should do. That cause her to believe that that's attractive or this and that. And what it does is these spirits want to showcase themselves through that human being. Okay, they showcase themselves through that human. Okay, so like there's nose rings, this facial piercings. It's all sign of bondage. The spirit is in bondage in the spirit realm. Okay, I do have a thing on piercings, tattoos, and another thing like on dreadlocks. They have to do with dreadlocks, right? Dreadlocks are the come from like Rastafarian, but it even goes all the way back to like Egyptian times and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and if you remember too, speaking of the nose ring, if you remember, a lot of the leaders and kings, they would have the nose ring that goes all the way around over to the ear, or to like a crown or something that they would be wearing. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm missing some, man. There's like so many guys. I appreciate the comments, and I'm more than happy to communicate and give you guys whatever wisdom the Lord has given me. Just give me a moment so I can go through these. Yeah, no masturbation of any kind. I won't get into that too much. Like sex toys, whether it's in a marriage covenant or whether it's a woman using them by herself or a man using them in masturbation. There's stuff that happens and takes place in the spirit realm where the semen is used from the man and the womb is used from the woman. Okay, and that's not just something that I speak about. I've been involved in deliverance sessions and everything, where either I was doing the deliverance session or I was involved as a seer while somebody else was doing the deliverance session. And the whole time, you know what I mean? I'm sitting seeking God on what he has to give for that person. And I've literally seen male figures with multiple kids standing in front of a courtroom that were spiritual children that were birthed from the womb of this woman who had been barren her whole life. So, amen to taking that out. Yeah, I used to wear earrings, in both of my ears, honestly. And God told me that it wasn't of him that, men shouldn't wear earrings. So I took mine out. Yeah, get rid of the Disney account. Yeah, 33rd degree Freemason, he sure was. Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah. I mean, like I said, I can't, I can't really go and say too much because that kind of pertains to something that has to do with me. But there's a lot of things that is founded out of Disney in general that have, what do I want to say? That have a spiritual control and dominance over other things that's taken place right now over all these years. Um, what I was going to say about the luxury brands, right? And I mentioned like Gucci and Louis Vuitton earlier. Okay. There's a reason it's not just by chance that these companies and these different places get exposed. Okay. There's people that are mantled and that walk with God, and God takes them different places and has them do certain things. And there's reasons why these companies and these people and these things are getting exposed. Okay. The devil's not going to do that on his own. Okay, and we could say, yeah, praise God, because God is the one that actually does it. But it doesn't come without major sacrifice from people who actually walk the earth with God. Okay, but my point to Gucci and Louis Vuitton is that um, both of those brands, they're actually owned by the same company that owns Balenciaga. So I'm sure you guys probably didn't know that. But there's a hierarchy. Okay, there's a parent company, and this guy owns this parent company, so he owns all of these brands. Obviously, they each have their own, management, and they each do their own thing. But there's a hierarchy, and this guy owns those brands. And he had a website previously where he was selling these like they seemed to be like lifelike children, kind of, right? But they were like statues, but they were all kids. They were boys and they were girls, and they had their mouth open like like a sexual hole, and the nose on each one of the children was really long. And I have all of this stuff like in a file and that sort of thing. But that's the man who owns all of these companies. So you can understand it this way. Okay, I'll help you understand it when it comes to ministry, and then you'll understand the importance of not being involved with a lot of these brands. And okay, and this has to do with the spirit, the soul, and the body. Okay, so like when you go to a church, um, any type of, let's say, Christian church, or you follow any of these leaders online. Okay, remember I told you that earlier there was some leaders that had adultery, right? That was in the foundation of their ministry and in the foundation of their marriage, because they was actually in ministry when they had committed adultery and never stopped, never repented. Instead, they sealed it with the covenant. The covenant's still binding, even though it's not a godly covenant. The covenant is still binding to the enemy, right? That spirit can never leave there. That covenant is there. Okay. So my point is that when you go and you submit to any of these people for leadership as being leaders, right? You listen to them, you seek them for guidance or whatever. Maybe you go to their church or in their area. You're not just um, submitting to them as your leader, as flesh to flesh, because you go there in your physical body. Your spirit and your soul go there too. You're actually submitting, just like you make covenants in a marriage. It's not the actual two physical people that become one flesh. Sorry, it happens in the soul. It happens in the spirit, right? They're connected in the spirit. They're knitted together, right? So when you go there, it's not your flesh and that is submitting to the flesh of this other person. It may seem that way because we look in the natural with our natural eyes, but it's not. Your soul and your spirit is submitting, bowing down to the authority of whatever spirits those people are carrying. So if that person's not pure, regardless of what they sound like, regardless if they speak doctrine, if they have other spirits within them, those you're now subjecting yourself, your soul and your spirit, your life, your marriage, you're subjecting those things to whatever spirits are in those people. So if you go to a church, right, who that leadership or that pastor is big on like money, right? Maybe he wears necklaces and maybe he's got all this stuff, right? And he spends the money that he's raping the congregation for. You will see that same spirit is upon all those people in that church. They worship at the altar of mammon. They think every day they go, or every week they go into that church and they're praising and they're singing these things out and they're calling out the name of Jesus with their mouth. They're calling out the name of God with their mouth. But I'm telling you right now, they're not worshiping the one true God and the one true Jesus. They're worshiping whatever God has an altar erected in their hearts. Y'all better hear what I'm telling you. If you want to be able to tell who's true and who's not in the kingdom of God, I'm letting you know now. These people, they worship at other altars. That's why they don't carry the true power of God. You guys think that you've seen God's power and his authority poured out this far? We've seen some things, but we haven't begun to see anything because the enemy always raises up the false. He always brings the false, shows the false to try to ensnare all the people before God raises up the true. Okay? And according to timing and according to the Bible and how revelation is, we haven't seen the complete release of all of the true mantles and all of the true callings. Okay, these people have sold out a long time ago. Their desire is to be famous and to be known in Christianity, and the kingdom of heaven is built backwards. The people who are going to carry the true power are the ones that don't even care about being seen. So, let's see. Yeah, superficial things on the body are a sign of bondage in the heart, mind, and soul. That's true. Yeah, I have some tattoos too. Um, we do stuff when we're younger, but I've just prayed over mine and asked and repented to God and asked God for forgiveness. And I try to not ever, they're on my arms and on my back and whatnot, and I try to. There's no real reason for me to be showing off my body in any way, shape, or form per se, unless maybe I was with my wife or something, swimming somewhere like in the ocean or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? But there's no real reason for me to be wearing muscly shirts and anybody really seeing those. But nonetheless, but I will tell you there is a false prophet that's owned by the Marine Kingdom, and I won't speak on that yet because I'm going to do the people that I really talk about. I'll call them out by name when it's time to do that. But he actually, I have some videos saved from him, and now if you go to him, they're what are they blocked on YouTube or however it is they do it, right? They're like private. You can't really view them anymore. But I already screenshot all the stuff, and he's saying that you could get tattoos, you can get piercings. I mean, there was comments on there like telling him thank you that this kid felt like he could grow weed because it comes from the earth, right? And that he could get back into growing and selling weed. And I'm not talking about the dude who previously spoke up and talked about buying land and growing it legally. I'm just simply talking about this prophet that's out of California. And actually somebody tried to connect him to me, and we actually would have ended up being connected, but the Lord rejected him in my spirit. This girl from one of my lives from last year told me that I spoke like him, and she tried to make the connection and tried to get us connected. And when the time when it happened, the Lord rejected it and told me not to have no part in it. And then I seen where he took some of my revelation, the wisdom that God had given me in the secret place, and he had taken some of that revelation and he had taken it and he had used it and tried to expand on it so that he could make his own videos and uh, grow his own church and everything else. And so it can be everything we need. About how having ear piercings, yeah, ear piercings for women are all right. You know, in the Bible, you know, it even talks about that. You know how God says it's obviously not supposed to be about the outward adorning of, you know, silver and golds and things like that. But there's no like straight up command against it. I see. Yep, earrings and nose ring. Yep, they do own a lot of programming channels. That's facts. All of the news and broadcasting channels, regardless of what state, you know, wherever they're at, they're owned by like four to six major companies around the globe, and that's all owned by the same high-ranking people that own all the food companies. I used to do some work that had to do with not food specifically, but the manufacturing of things that went out to all of the food companies, right? And and you'll find that like, you know, you have say five different random food companies and they're all owned by like a parent company, but usually it's not just five, it's like 50, you know, 50 of these companies and they're all owned by like one company. And then you'll have like five of these parent companies, but they're all owned by one company. Okay, there's some things I don't want to say on this video. I know that they use the AI to, you know, to go through the videos and stuff that people post for information. So I would just rather not have this specific video, you know, have any issues pertaining to that. But yeah, a lot of young people, yeah, through the piercings and stuff. Yeah, this the enemy's just finding ways, more and more ways, especially now that social media has become how it is. Right, it's so prominent between or among the youth, and everything's just put in front of them all the time. There's so much just occultic and witchcraft stuff that's taking place. The kingdom of darkness is trying to just ensnare them as young as they can. That's kind of what happened with, you know, all the stuff we seen a while back with like the schools and them letting certain stuff in the schools and all that stuff. It's just it's a way and a form to bring programming. Let's see, channeling, yeah. Let's see. Did I cover your guys' questions? Look, there's been a lot of stuff. Like I'm only in one section and it says 45 new comments. So yeah, two become one flesh even outside of marriage. That's absolutely true. And I'll go back to the beginning here where uh, he says, or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one with her body? For as is written, the two will become one flesh. 1 Corinthians 6:16. There's so much spirituality really going on in some of these churches. Counterfeit before the real thing. Yeah, I see you talking about the beehive. Yep, I seen that. I know why that's there. See, I already spoke out about the people that came in the hierarchy for her thing, right? And this is the thing, like you don't have to have a lot of followers. When God tells you to declare something and you speak specifically, that goes out into the realm of the spirit and that word goes and it performs what it's supposed to perform. If nobody even hears it, it doesn't matter, that word is going to go and perform to that person what it's supposed to perform. And so the two males that are actually in that group, they lost every, or I shouldn't say every influence that they've had, but it's been dissipated from them and it's been directed towards her. That's why now she's coming up with like foods, right? But it's all about money. It's all about raking money and getting money from God's people. And doing all that stuff. I mean, it's nowhere in the Bible do we see him selling the gospel, period. That's a charlatan. And then when people who try to sell the prophetic, that's a spirit of simony. Just like Simon tried to buy the prophetic, right, from the apostles. He said, may your money perish with you. What do you think these people are doing when they got schools that you could just jump online? Like I could get any Joe Blow off the street and bring him and have him sign up to go to school for a prophet or apostle, go do the course, and all of a sudden you got a certificate. Tell me you didn't just exchange money for a false prophetic. These people out here, I'm telling you right now, these people are the Jezebels, the Balaams, the Baals, and they're the ones creating the false prophets. You better hear what I'm telling you. They're the ones creating the false prophets. You don't sell any of that. You don't create schools to make money off of people, and then every Joe Blow gets a certificate, and now you got all these people. You're the one creating. You're the Jezebels with the school with the 400 false prophets that you just created last year. And the year before that, the year before that. It's all deception. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I see what you're saying about her group. I have many people that have came out of that group, and the Lord didn't do that by accident. I know what I'm supposed to do regarding her in that. I've got recorded audio. I got you. Wait until it happens. Everybody's gonna know. I have recorded audio of her that somebody sent to me. So once all of that stuff comes out in the realm of the spirit, once it's spoken by the person who God says to speak it, and there's some other people that are making videos and speaking about things, and I can tell that God sent them to do those things and say those things also. So in order to speak out against high levels of witchcraft and Satanism and deceptions, and certain stuff, like you got to do some you got to do some work with God in the secret place, and you got to know that He's really called you to do it, to speak against it, because if not, the warfare will come against your life heavy. That's why there's a lot of people that do things that God never told them to do. And if God's called you to be an intercessor, you really need to make sure that the Spirit of the Lord is telling you who to intercede for and what to intercede for in regards to people, places, and things. Because if you listen to a lot of these false apostles and prophets, they'll have y'all interceding for countries and cities and all this other stuff that God never told you to do. The Spirit of the Lord never told you specifically to do it. And if you do that, anybody who intercedes, you were acting as the doorway, the gateway between whatever's coming from the kingdom of darkness and whatever's on the other side of that doorway. And then all of a sudden your life ends up getting destroyed. You got stuff going on with your kids, you got stuff going on in your household, your job, all kinds of other stuff starts happening to you because you weren't protected to do it, because God never told you to do it. Right? So yeah, seafood as well. I stopped eating seafood for the most part a long time ago. Like I'll eat like some tilapias. I only like seafood that really don't taste like fishy. You know what I'm saying? I like tilapia rice and some greens and stuff like that, but I don't really mess with seafood, the bottom feeder stuff. Let's see. Realized that when I saw hand gestures in the live. Yep. Yep. You'll notice, and the reason is because the spirits inside of them they always have to show themselves. Like I said, they'll show themselves through the hair. They'll show themselves through the wearing of, you know what I'm saying, high end, expensive, clothing and stuff like that. All of them, all of these people, all of these people that many people follow, and you'll see them like, you can, and you can watch some of this stuff, and you can see like somebody posts an Instagram video on their page, and you see this girl that's trying to show you something that has to do with God or scripture, and she just has to like move her camera to a place that zooms and catches the Louis Vuitton bag. It's like that might be intentional to show people that you've made it, but irregardless, like, you know, it's the world is still in these people. Okay. Again, I'm not saying that you can't have nice things or do any of that, but the world was never taken out of these people. The world is still in them. They milk the people of God for money through selling the gospel, and take that money just to build bigger kingdoms for themselves. You notice you don't ever see none of those people taking none of that money and building homeless shelters. You don't ever see them, shooting video of feeding the homeless. And I would be against, taking pictures or really doing that anyway, right? But you don't ever see them do it. They take pictures and video of everything else. So if they were feeding the homeless or building homeless shelters, you would see them taking videos of that too, but they don't. All they care about is their own name and their own church name, their own ministry name, and their own kingdoms. That's it. That's it. And one way you can tell is because they would never walk away from it. They made an idol out of it. That's why when you see people becoming idols, when you see people worshiping them like idols, when you see the majority of church flock to people, then you got to know that something ain't right about that. When you see the majority of the church flocking to certain trending things that's happening in Christianity, I'm telling you right now, the majority of that stuff is the enemy. I'm not saying God doesn't have certain ways to snatch people out of the fire through some of those things, right? He still can, but the point is that the spirit operating behind most of those things it's not of God. Because, truthfully, like, I'll do whatever God tells me to do, and it's for Him and it's for you guys. Um, I only create the things I do in marketing because that's something I already do, and I'm just a creator. I'm an artistic type of person. But the truth of the matter is, if God told me tomorrow to delete my website and delete my Facebook page, it's gone. It's gone. Like, that's how much I trust God, and that's how much I don't have attachment to these kind of things in the world, regardless if it has to do with ministry or whatever. I could have, a church with thousands of people, and He said, "Let this person take over. Let this person take over." Passage. Okay, no problem. Lord, what do you want me to do? Right. So, man, anybody else have any? Anyways, law of attraction. Yeah, I had somebody in my family try to connect me with the law of attraction stuff once, like back when I was kind of younger, but thankfully God didn't allow that to stick. I watched the thing or whatever, and I was just like, the whole time I was like, why do they keep talking about the universe, man? Why they keep? I kept saying, it's God though. It's God though. And then they really didn't want to hear much else after that. So thankfully, that's not something that stuck with me, but it does for a lot of people because they look for a quick fix to things. That's also why people are so quickly believe a false Jesus and a false God. They really just want a Walmart Jesus, that $2.50 Jesus, right? And they don't know that it comes with the sacrificing your whole entire life at the cross. Tilapia, man, you just ruined my tilapia. It's man-made fish. I mean, I guess I'll take some lemon pepper salmon or something then. Barely eat meat. I still eat some meats, but yeah, she does too. I got a lot of pictures of her in that in that brand, and her husband. A lot of people. I'm telling you, demons of the same feather flock together. When you see all these people doing all this stuff, I know everybody wants to holler and shout like, "Yes, the Lord is bringing unity. The Lord is bringing unity." But if you know the Bible, Jesus literally says, I'm not coming to bring peace, but a sword. He's not coming to bring the unity. He's the war that's about to form is going to be between the wheats and the tares. Okay? The wheats and the tares. And I'm telling you, like 90% of Christianity is tares. 90% of Christianity is the tares. Scripture says, He said, I'm going to take 2/3 of these and just cast them away. 2/3 of these, I'm going to just cast them away. He said, and the other third, I'm going to put through the fire. So, yeah, I used to, how God broke me of that. And I'm not saying that I don't have like things. I have more, I've always liked to dress, since I was, you know, since I was younger, right? Since I could hustle and get my own stuff, Um, but the Lord to crucify my heart, I gave away everything I owned like 3 times. no, no exaggeration. Everything I own, almost all of it. So I had a shoe collection. I mean, I still have one now, but it's not like it was. Like before, it was more so like, just like rare type shoes and all that kind of stuff. And I through ministry, I didn't just give it away just randomly. I gave it away to people who were in need and stuff through different times. But like 3 different times I gave it all away. So that's why, it helped me to come to this place in my heart where I don't have attachments to material things and material items. You know, I like stuff, just like, anybody else would like some things, but at the same time, like it doesn't really matter. I don't have to have it. Um, I mean, let's see. Let's see. There's so many. Some, yep, I'm pushing 3 hours. Okay. All right. So you guys have any? Is that all the questions? You guys have any questions that pertain to the teaching or anything like that? There's so many comments, which is fine. I think I've got to the bottom of them or to the end of them. If I missed anything and didn't answer a question for you that you really need answered spiritually, I'll give a few minutes and you can put that down in the comments and I'll make sure I get to it. There's just a lot of stuff that came so quick I couldn't keep up with all of them. So I just want to make sure that I don't leave any of you hanging in regards to any important questions. Yeah, I won't expand too much on the soul fragments. I mean, there really isn't tons to expand on the soul fragments specifically, okay? But it's it's a portion of a person's soul when they experience. Yeah, thank you for putting that again. Link to the prayers. Right. Okay, so this is a good point. So you asked what is finding out what soul fragments are, okay? And then she said, when molested as a child, how do you break those ties? I'm going to put these prayers down here. So, Tammy, in regards to the prayer that's going to be in the prayers, that I'm going to put the links here in the comments for you to get to those prayers. Um, but this is a good point to be able to explain this. So, a soul fragment would happen if say a child is like 13 years old, and that child is molested and raped at that age. And what will happen is that in order for that that person to cope in their soul, there's that part of them becomes fragmented, and it stays at that age when that trauma happens, and that person will continue to grow in their soul, right? Those will continue to grow as a person, as an adult, right? But that portion of them gets buried, it gets hidden, it gets bound by the enemy, right? Through the soul tie, because it was a demonic action, right? It was, perversion, molestation, right? So it gets bound. So it becomes a fragmented part of that person. It stays there at that age when that trauma happens and that person grows. And that's why I was talking about with some people, you'll find that they seem to be a certain way regularly, but then here and there, like you'll see like They could be triggered by something, and then you'll see that 13-year-old portion of them come up out of their soul and speak or talk or communicate or whatever the case may be. Okay, and so that's what a soul fragment is. It's part of a person's soul that when trauma and and when deep wounds and deep traumas happen to a person at a certain age, that part of them splits off from their soul, and that part gets held captive at whatever age that they were at. I will tell you that I was in a deliverance with someone, and I was a seer in the deliverance, but I was actually physically in the room with the person that was getting delivered, and there was two other people also um, on the Zoom. And this same thing had taken place with them when they were younger. So the person that was leading the deliverance at that time, he called for that portion of that person that was fragmented, that was stuck back at that particular age. And he had asked them, "How old are you?" And as I'm looking at the screen with the person, I'm looking at the screen and they're sitting next to me. I literally see in the screen, I see the age of that person on their face. That person became that age, right? And so I knew roughly about what age that person was. So I reiterated that to the person who was leading the deliverance. And then they started speaking to that fragmented soul part of that person that was that age. And when he started speaking to that fragmented part of that person's soul, it came up and it started acting in that manner as if at that age. That makes sense? And this person was like 40 something years old. So, and it happened because of, severe trauma. So, yeah, soul fragments come from trauma, um, but it's also like a soul tie. A soul tie would develop there still with the person who, with the victim, and then who was ever was the perpetrator. Yeah, you need to, whatever age you were when those things happen, you need to write those things down. And when you go through this prayer, you need to make sure to include those, the name of that person that did that. Yeah. Yeah, it means it can. When there's a soul tie there, that person could have certain types of feelings or thoughts about you, later on in life, and then you could also, and then it could cause you to randomly start thinking about them or having desires for them or that kind of thing. So, it's the soul tie that makes you feel like that person's soul would come into your soul in that manner, but it's the soul tie that actually connects the soul. You still you you still have your own soul, they still have their own soul, but it's the tie, that knits them. Because, when you pass away, when your body passes, okay, your soul and your spirit are going to go to the same place together, wherever you end up. Hopefully all of you end up in heaven. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. Well, depending on how old she is, maybe you could seek God on it, and if He allows you, maybe you could lead her through the soul tie prayer, Tammy. God would know if you don't remember the name. You would just there's places on the prayer, and it says insert name here. Okay, and so you would just, if you don't know what that is, you would just obviously God would know, but you speak that in clarity to him. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, Tammy, for yourself, I would go through this prayer for the soul ties, and then I also have a prayer on the website for affliction and the spirit of death. So any person who has ever tried to kill themselves or commit suicide, it's definitely a heavy spirit of death. Okay, there's a lot of times many of us don't want to deal with things, and there could be even times that drive you to not, technically like want to be alive or something like that. You may have a feeling about it or something, and that could be the spirit of death is trying to, kind of attack you. But to actually, try to do it and that sort of thing, it's definitely pushing it to another limit. So I would definitely go through the warfare prayer against the spirit of death. If the molester dies, I would still go through the soul tie prayer, and the reason is because see, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of scripture, there's a lot of opinions on what happens when people die specifically. Okay, whether their spirit goes right away to heaven, hell, if it doesn't, if it waits, whatever. But here's the thing: regardless, there's a spirit realm, there's a soul realm, and then we're in this earthly realm. So if the person dies, their soul is still going to be in the soul realm, regardless of wherever that's at. So, and truth be told, if something happened and that person dies and there's still a soul tie, there could be, a real desire to not care about life based on that soul tie connection, right? A desire to just not care, almost like a spiritual death, right? So there could be something there even if the person dies. So I would definitely go through this prayer and enter their name. Yeah, you can literally know when they're thinking about you, even if you don't connect. Have dreams about them. This is true, and yeah, it's definitely not a good thing with anybody that's been an ex in your life. To you randomly start thinking about them and different stuff like that. Um, Obviously, there is holy, right, soul ties like with your spouse and that sort of thing, and so it's not wrong to have dreams about them or be connected to them in a certain way. Uh, Kimmy, yeah, like I mentioned, I would go through the prayer anyway because the soul realm is a realm in and of itself, even if the physical person dies, and even if the spirit, like a lot of, like I said, a lot of people have opinions on where the spirit goes when the person dies, whether it waits or immediately goes to heaven or hell or whatever. Um, but the soul realm is its own realm, so it could still have attachment there because the spirit and the soul doesn't die, just the physical body. So regardless if they have died in the physical, their soul and their spirit is somewhere in those realms. So let's see. Yeah, definitely forgive them. Stephanie's right. Definitely forgive them. Yeah, Tammy, I would. That the the prayer definitely has that in there. It talks about word curses. I have it in there for word curses, right? That's been spoken over you, by your exes and by family and stuff. Evil words that have been spoken over you, because we take words like, just think about how you take words of encouragement and kindness and love that people give you, right, and how they go in internally. Okay, so it's same thing when people give you words of hate and speak words of hate over your life, and you need to definitely cancel and break all of those. Okay. Did I cover everybody's stuff, everybody's questions? Oh yeah, I gotta put the prayers. Man, you done told me like 3 or 4 times. Give me 1 second. I'll put the links. Okay. Yeah, I'm putting the links right now. Okay. Get the next one. Okay, for all of you though, I'm letting you know you need to take these items, okay, and you need to pray the warfare decree, destroying material possessions. You need to follow the instructions. Once you get rid of all the items from every person, then go to the warfare prayer, which is, an ending prayer, and officially will break all the soul ties off. Okay, but what I need you to know is you can go and you can do this breaking soul ties prayer if you want, but I'm telling you, if you still have open doors, if you still have items, you still have all those things, you're probably just going to end up with more warfare when it's all said and done. Okay, the key factor to these things, to the soul ties are still there because of the items that you have in your possession. It's like someone having a demonic dream catcher. Okay, it has a purpose in the spirit realm. So yeah, if you don't have any items to get rid of or destroy, um, I would get rid of the stuff that's your mom's, right, as soon as possible, and then do the warfare prayer. Yeah, Tammy, the warfare decrees on there too. There's 2 of them. You guys should find them. And then tomorrow I'll post both of these on my Facebook page as separate posts. So if you didn't get it, I guess you'll see it then maybe. So yeah, been under attack for a week. Well, praise God. Yeah, I I mean, I could sit and write prayers all day, but the thing is like you have to be led by the Spirit of the Lord to do things, and that's why I said a lot of these other people who are leaders in the body of Christ are not. The Spirit of the Lord is not leading them. Other spirits are the spirit of religion because they want to build platforms and they want to just do all these things and push out all this content, and it has no power in it. It seems informative, but it has no power in it. And when you really let the Spirit of the Lord lead you, it'll be backed by His power. It'll be backed by His Spirit. And so that way, when other people use it, when His Spirit goes out and it goes to the spirit, soul, and body of other people, it actually has an effect. So she said, yeah, it's that Minnie Mouse, you already know. Tammy, both of them are technically for the soul ties, but the decree is for destroying the items. So you need to, any items that have been given to you by any of these people, ex-partners, ex-lovers, ex-spouses, um, people in your family that have been evil and ill towards you and that sort of thing. Any gifts, any clothing, any jewelry, any of those things that have been given by these people uh, need to be destroyed. So use the decree while you're destroying the stuff, and then once you have done all that, then just go to the breaking soul ties prayer. There's a reason why they're both separate, because they really should be. Wanda said, I'm back. We're about to roll out now. It's been 3.5 hours. Hey, no problem, you guys. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. Like I said, I'll be back next Saturday with the spirit spouse, and then I'll drop a warfare prayer against spirit spouses as well. And then the weekend after that, I'm going to do the domains of darkness. So that's cool. Yeah, for sure. The replay, I'm going to leave it on my page. Leave it on my page for a while. So yeah, Tammy, the decree is for destroying the items. So uh, if you haven't already been doing that this week, a lot of people have been getting things together this week to destroy them. If you haven't been doing that, um, ask God to lead you to everything, right? And just once you feel like you have everything, maybe give it, another 24 hours and ask God to press anything upon you that, maybe you forgot, okay? Because then you'll rush to destroy those things and go through this whole prayer process, and um, only to find out you got like 10 more things that you didn't get, okay? So if you already threw away the items, then I would still go through the decree. The reason I would still go through the decree, because the decree specifically talks about all the items. The decree is specifically a short warfare prayer pertaining to items. Okay. And then obviously the breaking soul ties prayer is what you would do after for official breakthrough. Yes. You can inbox me, a short memo. I appreciate you asking before just inboxing me about the prayer, but yeah, you can inbox me, what's going on, and I might not get to it tonight. I'm gonna log off here and then go and pray, and then I probably won't be back on until maybe tomorrow. So, all right. Well, God bless all of you guys. Thank you for hanging in there during that time. I know God's gonna do great things in your souls. It's time for freedom for His people. That's what the desire of His heart is. So don't give up and don't quit. Don't let the enemy discourage you. All right. So God bless you guys.